Hit record here, so we'll start recording. All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Jim Ostrowski, and I work in Eagle's Environmental Support Division. I'm coming to you from East Lansing tonight. Welcome. I'm glad you could attend. We've got about 10 people logged in right now for the hearing. This hearing is for the Judith J. Hill Clam River Harbor Incorporated in Torch Lake for their application. Submission HNWZM6CZ3PW6. All right, so in terms of the way that tonight's meeting is going to work, I don't know how many of you have ever attended a virtual hearing before for Eagle, but we've been doing quite a few of them. What we're going to do is just do some quick introductions. We're going to run through a quick information session with the applicants, going to spend a couple minutes going over what they're planning to do. Then we're going to take a few minutes to open it up for questions and answers, kind of an informal type of thing. So we'll allow you, if you want, if you have questions, to ask those questions in an informal setting with us. We'll do our best to answer them. Once we're done with the Q&A, probably around 6:30 or so, we will open up the formal hearing. And the formal hearing, when we do that, we'll read off a hearing statement and we'll start taking your comments. The important thing to remember about the official hearing when we get to that point is that really all we're here to do is listen to your comments. At that point, we're not responding back or answering questions. We're just taking your comments at that point, and we'll explain that again when we get there. And we'll end up tonight with just some more information on who to contact, with where to go for more information. At this point, I want to have our staff go ahead and come on and introduce ourselves and where they're coming in from. So Joe, you want to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Joe Haas. I'm the district supervisor in the Gaylord field office. I cover Gaylord and Cadillac resource programs for Water Resources Division, and overseeing the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act of 1994, Public Act 451, NEREPA, as we commonly would abbreviate it. Soil erosion, sedimentation control, wetlands, lakes, streams, Great Lakes, coastal resources under that statute. And I have, I think right now, 9 field staff and administrative staff combined that report directly to me. Thanks for coming. Thanks for attending. Go ahead, Teresa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Teresa Sherwood. I'm an environmental quality analyst with the Water Resources Division of Eagle out of the Gaylord District Office. I am one of Joe's direct reports, and I administer and oversee permit application reviews and compliance and enforcement issues for inland lakes and streams, wetlands, and Great Lakes.
Okay, thanks, Joe and Teresa. So at this point, what we're going to do is have Stephen Hill. He's going to come on. I'm going to unmute you, Stephen. Just give me a quick second here. Steve, I've just unmuted your line. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, great. So Steve, why don't we go ahead and have you introduce yourself, and then we have your slides here. So when you want me to change your slide, just let me know, and we'll let you have a few minutes here. So go ahead.
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, for those of you who are expecting Judith Hill to show up, unfortunately at 84, she has no idea what a Zoom meeting is, so she's at home watching TV tonight. I will be discussing briefly our plans for the Clam River Harbor renovation project. Let me start by saying thank you for everyone for putting this together and for attending. This is a very exciting time for us. We've been discussing this project within our family for years, and we're almost to the end, and we're looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughtful and constructive comments this evening. A brief little history on the Hill family. For those of you who we don't know personally, our family has a home on Torch Lake right outside of Clam River, between Clam River and Stony Point. Our great-grandfather purchased that land back in 1904, along with the property on the north side of Clam River, where our family has been helping boaters enjoy the chain of lakes for ever since. As longtime stewards of this property, we take that responsibility very seriously. We're ever cognizant of what happens in Clam River, as it will end up flowing out right in front of our house on Torch there. So we want to make sure that everything is done correctly. When we first started talking about renovating the boat slips back in 2015, we contacted the local environmental groups and conservation groups like Three Lakes Association, Torch Lake Protection Alliance, Torch Conservation Center, and the Friends of Clam Lake. As we value their partnership and input, we laid out our preliminary plans at that point for the project and took them on a tour of our property to show them exactly what we had wanted to do. I think everyone who attended, there were probably about 7 or 8 people there at that cold December day, would agree that it was a very fruitful and successful first meeting. Over the course of the next few years, we watched how boaters evolved in their choice of boats and wanted to adapt to serve this new wave of pontoon boaters. Jim, could you put up the picture of the satellite of the existing configuration? Perfect. As you can see from this photo, the current slips are at various angles that aren't conducive to the new style of boats, and the shoreline has eroded substantially. The docks have more than served their useful life, and it's time to renovate. As a result of these renovations, we will be decreasing the total number of slips by 2, which should help reduce traffic in the harbor. Jim, could you put up the next slide that shows the plan overlaying the existing configuration? As you can see, everything we're doing with this renovation project is either currently there or has been there at some point throughout the years. One of the major concerns that we came up on when we wanted to address the project was the issue of erosion of the curved shoreline that is currently behind the island. Not only is this a safety hazard for boaters, it's simply not good for the environment. With erosion eating away at the shoreline, we wanted to protect it by installing a steel seawall for long-term shoreline preservation. Over the years, as you can see, if you've looked at the information on the website, there have been various types of seawalls in that area. There have been wooden ones, there have been cement ones, and so on. So again, this is nothing new to that area. Our project overall is just a renovation of what we've been working with for years. As we move further east in the project, we see the existing wooden seawall in the next stretch of boat slips. Those slips are a little bit more in line, which is good, but they still need a renovation because they're not in great shape. We plan to install a new steel seawall right in front of the existing wooden seawall because we want to make sure there's minimal disturbance to the land there, and the shoreline stays pretty much intact in that strip there. The current boathouse, the next thing east, that will remain unchanged during the project. And finally, on the east side of the current boathouse, we plan to provide covered wharfage consisting of 4 boat slips, much like we have existing there now. The whole harbor area will be dredged to maintain a safe depth for boaters, as the area has filled in over the years with parts almost becoming unnavigable by boats. We will use weighted turbidity curtains to contain silt and sediments that may be stirred up during the dredging process. All of the spoils that we remove from the project site will be allowed to dewater on site over in the parking lot area, so the water can drain back naturally into the wetlands. Before being removed to a spot in the old gravel pit near the intersection of East Torch Lake Drive and Clam Lake Road. This area is high and dry, away from any wetlands. Once we're done with the project, we will hopefully have created a safer, more enjoyable boating experience for all, while being sensitive to the natural surroundings that we have safeguarded since 1904. Thanks for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the project, and I look forward to hearing everyone's comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. And right now, like I said, what we're going to do is spend a few minutes. If people have any questions, you can ask them now. So this is more informal Q&A. If you have a question, you can either submit your question in the questions box you have in your Zoom toolbar there, or you click raise hand and we'll unmute your line. And if you're, we don't have any phone people. Sometimes we have people calling in on the phone, but it doesn't look like we have any. If we did have somebody on the phone, they just hit *9 and it would raise their hand for them. So I'll let you guys, if you have questions, do that. And it looks like we already got someone with their hand raised. Todd Collins, I'm going to unmute your line, and so you should see something pop up so you can unmute on your end. So go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Thank you for just allowing me to offer a comment. by way of introduction, my grandkids are sixth generation up here in the Summers. I own several properties on Torch Lake, including one south of Clam River. It's been halfway between Lone Tree Point and Stony Point. So, and I've known the hills for many years, but I'm concerned also about what might happen if this project is not accomplished. The prop wash from the boats down there, I witnessed one when I've been on 2 tours of the site with the hills. And the prop wash that I saw is it kicks up a lot of sediment from the river bottom when they're docking and when they're leaving the docks. And so I think that dredging is going to help prevent some of that sediment potentially going into the current of Clam River. However, when I did witness it, the prop wash that I saw on the bottom was right next to the western of the 2 islands, and I didn't see any of the sediment moving at all. It was just like a floating cloud that then slowly dissipated back to the bottom. So I don't think that there's much current there. Therefore, probably the weighted turbidity curtains would be sufficient when they do the dredging.
Excuse me, Mr. Collins, I'm going to interrupt you really quick here. I just want to make sure you know, so what we're doing right now is just Q&A. If you want to make an official comment for the record, which it sounds like you kind of are, that's going to happen right after the Q&A. So I don't know if you had a question or if you had more of a comment related to the decision.
Comment for sure. I misunderstood. I thought you
That's
were
okay.
accepting both right now.
No, I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do, and I apologize if it wasn't totally clear. So we're going to come back to you once we go to the official comment part, and you can start your comment then. I'm sorry it wasn't clear, but just for everybody to know, this is a Q&A. So if you have a question, this is the time to ask it. And then when we're done with this, we'll open it up for the official comments. So we'll come back to you in just a little bit for your official comments, sir. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. So for those of you who have comments, and a couple of them did come into our questions box. The first one is, what is the current depth of the harbor?
Yeah, and Jim, I can try to answer that. Thanks, Jennifer, for that question. I would say, in my observations of the site, the depth varies throughout the harbor. And, you know, I guess I might need to pull up my field notes from my site inspection to look and see where I measured that. But there's definitely some areas that are very shallow, maybe only 1 foot, maybe 2 foot depth. And then probably some other areas that are more in the 3 to 4, maybe a little bit more depth, where it's pretty obvious too. You can see in the sediment that, some of the boats are basically hitting bottom when they pull in and out of their slips. And the second question that Jennifer asked was about maintenance dredging. And the applicant has not proposed maintenance dredging in this permit application. So they've only proposed the one-time dredging.
Okay, thanks.
Can I offer too? Excuse me, Jim. I just see on the plan that we had just looked at calls out an operational depth of 3 feet. So that's it looks like that's what the goal would be.
Okay. Back to our board here. It looks like we've got Paul Sack has got a question. So I just unmuted your line, sir, so you can.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Actually, Teresa answered one question, and I just want to verify it. That has the Eagle done a site inspection of it recently? I know there was a pre-application meeting done back in 2015 with Matt Kleitch, but I was wondering if there's been one done recently.
Yes, Paul, thank you. I did conduct a site inspection on September 23rd of this year, so just about a month ago.
Okay, thank you. My second question is probably to Steve Hill. Steve, I know you're in Chicago most of the time, I think now. I'm wondering who will be the agent on site when construction starts? I guess it's a multiple question. Who will be the general contractor, and how will oversight happen as the project progresses to make sure that everything is being done according to the, application?
Well, we're interviewing firms that have project management capabilities. I will be up there as well. I was up there all summer, as a matter of fact, thanks to COVID.
Yeah.
And my older brother is a resident up there as well. So there'll be plenty of eyes watching the project.
Okay, so there will be a local general manager or general contractor that will be doing the work, or are you going to be acting as the general contractor, Steve?
No, there'll be someone there managing that.
Do you know who that is?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, so nobody's been hired to do that, because I saw one name, an agent, but has that changed now?
What name was that and where did you see it?
I saw it in the application, Edwin Martell.
He is not, he is a consultant. No, he's not. He won't be involved with the actual construction of the piers and seawalls.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. Go to the next person who's got their hand up and again, remember this is for Q&A for questions. So if you have a question, this is what this time is for. So Leanne Bingos, I just unmuted your line, so you should be able to ask your question.
My question is about the seawall. I was wondering if you were able to review, this is for Steve actually, the Watershed Council letter, and they recommended maybe doing more of a rock wall so that the inhabitants of the river and the wetlands would not be disturbed.
So I'm going to have Teresa, you take that first and on your end, and if you want Steve to add more, you can.
Well, I guess all I can really say in that regard, Leanne, thanks for your question first, is that Steve and I, as you know, he's the agent for Judith, him and I have been and will be talking about certain modifications to the project that we might be looking for, that Eagle might be looking for as part of our environmental review of the project.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
So what's out there for the permit today is not what is going to be in the end.
Not necessarily. And so we have to wait until we get through this public hearing process, and then we will be accepting public comments again for another 10 days after the close of this hearing. And so we have to factor in any comments made tonight or in the next 10 days, that might factor into Eagle's permit decision or what kind of modifications we're going to be talking about with the applicant.
And then the people that are, like the 10 people that are on here now, the ones that are interested, are we going to be notified of what changes to the permit?
So I will be uploading documents and making them available to the public via MyWaters. So
Okay.
if you don't have that link already, I can certainly get that to you, and you can check that at your convenience to see what new documentation has been uploaded to the file.
I have that. Thanks.
Okay. Yep. So as new things come in and are made available to the public, you'll see them and you'll be able to download and take a look at those.
A question about dredging. Has there been any thought of just putting it back into the river? Because the water, putting it back into the wetland, the water, it could affect the ecosystem of the wetland. Is there a reason why it's just not going back into the river?
So it actually will eventually go back into the river. The wetlands at this site are directly connected to the river. Okay. So we actually look at the proposed dewatering method as a best management practice, where the water, which is primarily going to be clean because the water that it's going to come through a filter or silt fence, kind of filter. So it's going to be fairly clean water, but by going into the wetland, it will kind of slowly make its way to the river, which is actually better from an ecological standpoint, rather than having just a bunch of water gushing back in, not that it would be, it's still going to be a very slow kind of dewatering, but so we don't really anticipate any negative impacts to the wetland itself, and the water eventually will go through the wetland and back into the river.
So the water's being filtered before it's going into the wetland.
Yeah, the
Okay.
permit will require that area be contained with materials that keep the sediment contained within that area where the dredge spoils are placed, and only allow water to flow through those materials.
Okay.
All right, we're going to have to move on to a couple more people who got their hands up here. So thank you for your questions, and go to the next person with their hand up here, Tom Ward. So Tom Ward, you should be able to ask your question now. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Tom Ward, and I have the property across the street, across Old Twitch Lake Drive from the harbor. And we've seen an incredible amount of parking issues. And so the question that I have for Steve is, do you have clients that are going to rent or that will be using these slips that primarily rent their pontoon boats? Or do you plan on renting pontoon boats and keeping them at your slips? And the reason why I ask this question is because of the enormous amount of people that are renting pontoon boats down in this area. And when they do that, they generally bring somewhere between 6 and 18 people to be on the pontoon boat, and all these people have to park their cars. So there's a huge parking problem in this area.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Ward. So Steve, I don't know how you want to address that question. On Eagle staff side, this is out of the scope pretty much of this permit application in the meeting. So Teresa, I don't know how you want to address that.
Well, I'll make one comment, is that we have secured private parking for our clients, and we always have.
Okay, so I'm going to keep moving on here for the next one. Christine Crossman. Christine Crossman, go ahead. You can ask your question.
You know, I was going to ask about the wetlands as well, because that is my biggest concern, and the water quality that's going back into the wetlands. And I think you were able to answer some of those questions. I still would like to know if you have done a full scale study on dumping water back in there, and make sure that you've really thought through how it could disrupt the wetlands. I mean, that's so critical to the Torch Lake water quality, to the water quality of our drinking water. I mean, that to me is my biggest concern. And I want to make sure you've done that study and you feel really confident. And if there's a way to get my hands on it, that'd be great.
Well, Christine, thanks for the question. I'm not sure exactly what you mean necessarily by study, but dredging is very common activity on inland lakes and streams. And what we primarily do when we review a permit application like this is we are looking to make sure that the applicant has proposed best management practices for handling the dredge spoils, dewatering the dredge spoils, and disposing of the dewatered dredge spoils. So that is a big part of our review on this project. So we're primarily looking at the dewatering area being that, as proposed in this case, is an upland area, so no spoils are being deposited to the wetland itself. The dewatering management practices being that they're going to contain the spoils and have it kind of a slow dewatering, so that as they dredge, the water can drain out slowly, but not bring a bunch of sediment and stuff with it, because it's going to be contained by materials that would prevent that from happening. And then the disposal of the spoils once they are dry, we look to make sure that those are going to be deposited in an area that's not a wetland or a lake or stream. And in this particular application, once the spoils are dried, they are proposing to ship them, I think, as Steve mentioned in his presentation, to an area that's like a sand gravel pit at the corner, northeast corner of Southeast Torch Lake Drive and Clam Lake Road. So yeah, we are definitely looking at all of that, and any permit that's issued for those activities will have certain conditions to hold the permittee responsible for adhering to best management practices.
Thank you. So in the process of that dewatering and filtering, what happens to the toxins that you take out of the water and take out of the dirt that you're dredging up? Does that get deposited somewhere outside of this area?
Well, quite honestly, this is pretty sandy soil, which when the sediment's primarily sand, it actually usually doesn't hold a lot of toxins, and there's no known contamination in this area. So there's not a lot that actually would go with the water. Most of it would be contained with the soil and go, be kind of held in with that sediment. So I don't really anticipate any toxins or contaminants to enter the wetland with the water that drains out.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, thanks for your question. Okay, we've got time for a couple more questions that came in here on the question box. So I want to get to those really quick. Teresa, if you want to start this one, can you elaborate more on the need to straighten the shoreline?
Yeah, I can just mention it. I mean, what's in the application, and then if Steve wants to, add anything to it. Basically, the proposal is to straighten the shoreline so that the docks can be better placed in a manner that facilitates better navigation and mooring into and out of the slips with the type of boats that are being used these days on these water bodies. And Steve, I think that's the main goal of that. Am I correct there?
Yeah, no, it is definitely. And Mother Nature's taken a good job at straightening it out anyway, because if we leave it unattended, it's going to pretty much more or less be all washed away all along that area anyway. So we want to protect that as best we can.
All right, thanks. And the final question here, were there any alternatives considered to the steel seawalls that would be more environmentally and lake healthy, such as bioengineering? So how do you address that, Teresa?
Well, I'd have to, and thanks again, Jennifer, for your questions. I probably would need to look at the permit application details to see what kind of alternatives the applicant considered and why they believe that they're not, feasible or acceptable alternatives. We certainly have communicated with the applicant since having a pre-application meeting in 2015 about potential alternatives, such as bioengineering or riprap, or even in the situation if seawalls are installed, putting toe stone in front of all of the seawalls. So that's still something that we will be looking at and talking about with the applicant during the final review.
Okay, thanks, Teresa. And thank you, Steve, too, for presenting and for answering some questions. So I'm going to mute your line there, Steve. All right, so it's about 6:30, and want to make sure we keep everybody on time here. So what we're going to do next is I got a screen here that shows the other ways to make official comment. I'm going to have Teresa read off her official hearing statement in just a moment. But just to let everybody know, tonight's not the only way to make official comment. You can also use any of these means that I've got up on the screen here, by mail, by MyWaters, or via email. So with that, Teresa, are you ready? You want to go through your public hearing statements? We can officially start the hearing part.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
And bear with me, folks. This is a couple pages worth of stuff I have to read off here. So first of all, again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Teresa Sherwood, and I'm the district representative in the Water Resources Division of the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, also known as EGLE. I will be serving as the hearings officer for this public hearing on EGLE submission number HNW ZM6C Z3PW6. And with me tonight is Joseph Haas, who is the Water Resources Division District Supervisor. So to describe how this is going to work tonight, I will begin with some background information about why we are here tonight. I will then describe the purpose of the hearing and how your comments will be used. Following that, I will outline the procedures under which we will take your comments and then describe what will happen after tonight's hearing. It will then be time for you to provide comments, and we will spend the majority of the time tonight listening to those comments. At the end of the hearing, I will provide a short summary and closing. By way of background information, the Water Resources Division is responsible for administering a variety of programs that help to protect inland lakes and streams, wetlands, floodplains, sand dunes, and the Great Lakes. These programs regulate certain activities such as dredging or filling a lake, stream, or wetland, constructing a dam, constructing a marina, placing shore protection or constructing docks, and building in a designated critical sand dune area, wetland, or floodplain. The law governing these responsibilities is the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, Public Act 451 of 1994 as amended. We are here tonight because Judith Hill of Clam River Harbor Incorporated has proposed the following: to excavate approximately 295 cubic yards of sediment from uplands adjacent to the shoreline to facilitate installation of a new seawall and reconfiguration of marina docks, to install approximately 228 linear feet of new seawall along the shoreline of the excavated area, to install approximately 152 linear feet of replacement seawall directly in front of an existing seawall, to dredge approximately 694 cubic yards of sediment from within the marina area to facilitate navigation and docking, to extend dockage at the east end of the marina area, to construct a boathouse / covered wharfage over an area measuring 53.5 feet by 40 feet to cover 4 dock slips, and to reconfigure the marina dockage to extend docks to a length of 25 to 30 feet and increase the boat slip size, resulting in a total of 34 boat slips. In order for a permit to be granted, Eagle must find that the proposed activities described in the public notice meet certain criteria set forth by Part 301 Inland Lakes and Streams of Act 451. In general, we must consider the effect of the proposed project on the stream and wetlands. When reviewing an application for a permit under the provisions of Part 301 Inland Lakes and Streams of Act 451, Eagle is charged to make the following considerations as required by Section 30106 of Part 301. Number 1, the department shall issue a permit if it finds that the structure or project will not adversely affect the public trust or riparian rights. And number 2, the department shall not grant a permit if the proposed project or structure will unlawfully impair or destroy any of the waters or other natural resources of the state. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested in the project proposed by Judith Hill, Clam River Harbor Incorporated, an opportunity to provide information that Eagle can use in making the decision on whether or not to issue a permit. Please recognize that Eagle can only use the information you provide if it relates to the criteria that Eagle must use in making a decision. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the project. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that Eagle is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether or not there is widespread support or opposition to the project. In just a moment, I will outline the procedures we will use for taking your comments. But before I do so, I need to mention that the notice of this hearing was published in the Antrim Review on October 1st, 2020. As we discussed at the beginning of the informational session, if you have a comment to provide, click the hand icon at the bottom of your screen, or if you're joining us by phone only, type *9 to raise your hand. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. First, the applicant's representative has already had an opportunity to describe the proposed project. Second, we will then call on those who have indicated that they would like to speak in the general order received. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please email them to me, upload them to MyWaters, or send them to me via US mail to the Gaylord District Office. When all of the comments have been completed, we will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted. As you begin your comments, please state your name and any group or association that you may represent. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. I will, actually, I think Jim will indicate to you when you have either 30 seconds left or we need you to wrap it up. So please begin wrapping up your comments and end within the allotted time. And if need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt a speaker, and please also recognize that Eagle staff is here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed project and to listen to those comments. This hearing is being recorded, and your comments will be a part of the information that Eagle will consider in making its decision on whether or not to issue a permit on the proposed project. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 10 days from the date of this hearing, ending on November 1st, 2020. Additional information and comments submitted in writing during the 10-day public comment period will also be considered in Eagle's decision. Additional information and comments may be submitted to me, Teresa Sherwood, at the Gaylord District Office, 2100 West M32, Gaylord, Michigan, 49735. Following the close of the public comment period, Eagle will make a decision to either issue a permit for the project as proposed or with modifications, or send a letter of denial. You may find out what the decision is by checking the MyWater's website and using the permit reference number HNW ZM6C Z3PW6. And just want to let everybody know that we will be following up to this hearing with emails to all of you with all the information that you need and these links to get to this information in MyWaters. So I thank you for your attention, and I will turn it over to Jim to start the public comments.
All right, thanks, Teresa. Now we got that out of the way, we can, I guess, start taking some comments. So Teresa and Joel will be listening into your comments as read them off. And just like Teresa said, what we'll do is when people registered, you had the option to indicate whether or not you wanted to make a comment. A couple people did, so I'm going to call your names off first, and then after that, we'll open it up for anybody else. And if you'd like to make a comment, you can click the raise hand icon, and we'll call on you. So with that, just a reminder, I'll give you about 3 minutes to make your comment. I'll let you know when you got about, a minute left so that you can think about wrapping up. And, just be courteous and be timely so that everybody can get a chance to make their comment tonight. Remember that when we unmute your line, to repeat your name, because I might mispronounce it, and also any organization that you might be representing. Okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to call my first person up here, and we've already heard from him, Todd Collins. So Mr. Collins, I'm going to unmute you again, and you can go ahead and unmute yourself and make your comment. So go ahead.
Do you wish me to repeat what I already stated, or should I just continue?
If to be officially on record, you should probably repeat it. I'm sorry.
Okay, very quickly then. My grandkids are 6th generation up here, and I have property south of Stony Point, so I'm concerned about water quality in Torch Lake. I see the marina as being quite dilapidated compared to, say, when I was a youngster going to the IGA and parking at the docks, creating my comic book collection, which I still have. The safety issues are people that are boarding and unboarding from boats, from the slips. It's very, very, it's a safety issue in that they have a lot of the erosion has caused them to install 2x10 planks that are tippy and just not good. The other thing is when boats are parking and disembarking, it's extremely tight, and the prop wash is disturbing a lot of the sediment on the bottom, on the river bottom. So I think that this is a fix that is necessary and needed. And I think that the fact that they're reducing the number of boat slips may cause less congestion, which is another safety point. I've met at the site several times with the Hills, and everything in their application and what they reviewed with me is, it's a mirror image of one another. So I think it's a project that I support wholeheartedly. That's the end of my comment.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we're going to go to the next person on my list here, and it's Jennifer McKay. So Jennifer McKay, I am unmuting your line.
Hi, can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead and repeat your name and any organization you might be with.
Great, thank you. My name is Jennifer McKay, and I am the Policy Director at Tippecanoe Watershed Council. And so first I'd like to say thank you for the public hearing this evening. And I appreciate both Eagle and Steve answering questions from me this evening. That was very helpful. The Watershed Council's mission is to protect, restore, and enhance our water resources. And so I certainly understand and support the desire to renovate the marina. We just want to make sure it's done with the utmost care and done with measures that take the water quality and the health of the lake into perspective. And I already submitted detailed written comments. So tonight I just want to reiterate those. And based upon the plans in our review, we recommend that Eagle deny the boathouse and the straightening of the shoreline. We recommend that Eagle require feasible and prudent alternatives for the steel seawall as required by law, which we would prefer bioengineering. And then we recommend limiting the dredging to only those areas that would require it, which essentially would be only those areas shallower than 3 feet. And with that, I will say thank you again.
All right, thank you. All right, and those are the two people who had indicated ahead of time that they wanted to make a comment. So now I'm going to look and see if people have got their hands raised. So if you want to make a comment, you get your 3 minutes, go ahead and raise your hand and I will start calling your names. So the first person I have here with their hand up is Leanne Bingos. So Leanne Bingos, I've unmuted your line, so you can go ahead and get to repeat your name.
My name is Leanne Bigos, and I live like next to the dockside in the houses back in there. And I do appreciate Steve wanting to upgrade the area, because when you walk around there during the summer, the docks have seen better days. So I really do appreciate his desire to upgrade the area. But after reading the Watershed Council letter that Jennifer McKay just went over, I agree that the items in this letter need to be addressed and taken into consideration in order for the permit to go forward. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, next person with their hand up is, oops. I have my clock here, I'm just resetting it. Okay, next person up here is Christine Crossman. So Christine Crossman, I've unmuted your line. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and any organization you might be with.
Okay, I'm Christine Crossman, and we have one of the cottages kind of north of the dockside in that Sandy Bay area. And I just want to pretty much say the same thing that Leanne Bigo said, that, you know, generally speaking, I think it's a great idea. I think it has been getting dumpy over there. We've all seen it, and it could use some really nice improvements. But I've been concerned about the environmental impact from the get-go. And in reading the Jennifer McKay's report, or the report of the Watershed Council, I would like to see some of these issues addressed, and in good faith, that they try to mitigate the impact on the environment based on the recommendations of the council report that they put out. But generally speaking, Steve, I'm happy that you're upgrading over there, and I really hope it can work out with the changes. And thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll move to our next person on the board here, and that's Paul Sack. So Paul, I've unmuted your line and you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Jim. My name is Paul Sack. I'm a riparian owner on Clam Lake and also a board member of Friends of Clam Lake. Wanted to comment that the Friends of Clam Lake Board of Directors has reviewed the application. And at this point in time, we are in support of the application, given the fact that it seems like the Hill family has taken a lot into consideration in their planning to keep things safe. So we are, again, in support of the boathouse, the dredging, but making sure that we follow the plan as depicted with the dewatering and getting rid of the sledge into another spot. I was happy to hear from Steve Hill that he does have he will probably be here and provide the family oversight to this project. And that they are going to be using a professional contractor, general contractor to do the work. I think that's very important to have that oversight as they continue on this project. So we'd like to commend the Hill family for doing that and also commend them for reaching out to organizations like Friends of Clam Lake and Three Lakes and Torch Lake Protection Alliance back in 2015 and also recently. So we hope this project continues. The final point is, as Friends of Clam Lake, even though we are saying that we are in approval of the boathouse and some of the things happening, we will continue to look out for the public trust and riparian rights on Clam Lake and make sure that there's no commercialization of residential property or construction of new boathouses or covered wharfages on residential property. The fact that this is in a commercial zone, I think is something that is good, and that's where it needs to stay. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, next up, we have Tom Ward. So Tom Ward, I've unmuted your line. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm Tom Ward and I own property across the street from this commercial establishment. The Clam River Harbor is an interesting situation. Here we have a major change in a commercial establishment that did not provide notice to the very neighbors it will mostly affect. They provide notice to the landowners to the west that are helping them with the project, but they did not provide, but not to the residential properties across the street or on Old Torch Lake Drive or others directly across Clam River from them. Here we have a very small landowner wanting to pour a lot of funds into changes into his marina that will allow for larger boats, pontoon boats, and no place to park all the people that will come and use their own boats and rent pontoon boats. Pontoon boats are rented at the Dockside Marina on Torch Lake. The marina owns 12 or more pontoon boats and docks them on Torch Lake directly beside the public swim area. In the summer of 2018, the marina had 2 boats docked at Torch Lake with pontoon boat rentals. Come people that don't know how to operate the pontoon boats, and there are lessons for operating the pontoon boats right in front of our cottage every morning. Invariably, the pontoon boats have 10 to 18 people on them and all ready to spend the day on Torch Lake or most likely at the sandbar in the south end of the lake. These people show up with their coolers full and are ready to party on the lake. How can we tell? Believe me, we get to hear the revelers getting ready to party. And how did they get to Dockside Marina in one car? Not very often. They generally show up with multiple cars and need parking. Parking on the Dockside Marina is where the old Miko's restaurant used to be. It was a gravel lot until 5 or so years ago. Once additional parking was required on the Dockside restaurant, the lot was paved. Of course, with the pavement came a requirement of drainage, and a single drain was placed on the edge of the lot. Where does the drain openly drain into? Directly into Torch Lake at the public access, washing all the sand at the beach into the lake with all the pollutants from the parking lot with it. Could the owner of the lot have placed the end of the sewer on his own land? Sure, but then he'd be washing the sand off his beach and pouring pollutants into his own beach. How far is the public beach from the owners of the Dockside Marina? They are right next to each other. It is inconceivable to me that when a permit was pulled to pave the parking lot, that a site review of the parking lot did not see this obvious pollutant stream going directly into Torch Lake and the pollutants going directly into the very place that the people are supposed to enjoy the beach. The beach is being washed out by polluted parking lot water that is going into Torch Lake and at the public beach where the swimming always takes place. Parking lot, back to the parking lot for pontoon boats. The owner of Miko's lot, the same as the owner of the beach and the owner of the land and the dockside, is also the owner of the once pristine natural woods behind the Hills Marina or the Clam River Harbor. These entire woods are currently listed as national wetlands. These woods used to come up to the road's edge along Old Torch Lake Drive. Now, during the last 5 years, 30 straight end parking places have magically occurred along the road, and this parking has carved out the national wetland designated property.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Okay, since this parking is not enough for all the businesses now, a new parking lot was installed across the street on a residentially zoned property that is also right beside the national wetlands. What is the point? All these parking requirements started with the Dockside Marina, and now the Harbor Marina will require even more parking. Where is the logical place for the parking? Right on top of the pristine natural wetlands that's owned by the owner of all the other property except for the harbor, the Clam Harbor. Take a look at the map and you will look and see where the new entrance of the marina is. I'm going to skip to the
Yeah, we got to start wrapping up. Okay.
Okay, thank you. One thing that has changed is the number of boats on the small river. With all the development of the marinas on the Clam Lake, the number of boats traveling up and down Clam River is a busy freeway. There is nothing like an inexperienced captain of a pontoon boat trying to navigate the Clam River in front of the dockside when the seas are rough and the current is fast and the boats are traveling bow to stern, and all these expensive boats are parked on the dockside pier. Just last year, my boat was parked at the end of the pier and hit by another boat. Luckily, the boater was kind and left a note for the damage. Extending the docks further out into the river will just exacerbate this problem. Adding more inexperienced boaters to this mix and making the river thinner by extending the docks will just make this worse. In addition, the end of the Hills Marina is at an intersection where gas is pumped and boats are coming in the river from Butch's Marina on the side, and where boats that have gotten gas are trying to turn around and go back to the lake. So in final, who cares if it's just a parking lot? So what if your house is next door? Who cares about the deer and the mink wandering around on our property and the natural setting of the natural wetlands? Who cares about the mussels and the turtles? Who cares about the ducks and the geese and the swans that are enjoying their nesting grounds along the last portion of Clam River that is still natural? Who cares about the little islands that are on the river that the birds nest in? Who really cares about turning what used to be a wonderful, idyllic place to vacation into a place that is nothing but back-to-back cars like Shepler's Ferry's parking lot in Mackinac? The owner of the wetlands and the Dockside Marina does. He used to live in one of the houses that are most affected by these changes. Then he sold it and moved to the southeast part of the lake.
Okay, sir, I'm going to have you wrap up here. Please.
I am. I've got one more sentence. We the landowners care about the unbridled development of the land and the shoreline of the Clam River, and all the organizations involved with the shoreline and with the national wetlands should also. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your comment. Okay, we got another hand up here. Jerry Harbin. Jerry Harbin, I'm muting a line. Just remember to repeat your name and any organization you might be with. Go ahead.
Hi, Jerry and Jennifer Harbin. And we are in the neighborhood, which is directly across the street from the wetlands. And we have an association that we formed. We are the Torch Lake Clam River Channel Wetlands Preservation Association. And my comment is the wetlands are protected by federal law under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act. Therefore, before any of this is approved, we would like an environmental impact study to be completed by a licensed professional. We also do not agree with the building of a boathouse that would impede the access for waterfowl and other animals such as mink, turtles, trying to get into the wetlands for nesting areas and food resources. In addition to that, we would like to know, and we would like to be notified, what approval process is needed in order for the Hill family to expand the project way beyond the current requests. Those are our comments and requests, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're at this point, I don't have any other hands up, but I'm going to ask one more time if anybody that has not made a comment would like to make a comment tonight. Please raise your hand if you do. I'm putting it up on my screen right now. Oops, there it is. The other ways to submit comments that Teresa will go through again in just a minute, but I want to have those up there. All right. While not seeing any other hands raised, I am going to turn it back over to Teresa to read our closing statement. And after she reads that, we'll just end with a few more closing remarks. So go ahead, Teresa.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and cooperation. We really appreciate your interest in the proposed project and that you took the time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit additional written comments until November 1st, 2020. Following the close of the public comment period, we will consider all comments received and make a decision on the proposed project. Just to remind you, those of you that may still want to submit a comment, you can submit comments via MyWaters, via email to me, Teresa Sherwood, or by US mail to the Gaylord District Office. The hearing is now closed, and we'd like to thank you again for your participation tonight.
All right. Thanks, Teresa. Just got your contact information up there on the screen if anybody needs to get a hold of you, I guess, with questions. And there's your email address. If they want to submit comments that way, they can do that too. And you said comments open until November 1st.
Yes.
When it closes. And that's at the end of the day, 12 o'clock, midnight, November 1st, right?
Correct.
It's usually what it is. Okay. Okay. Well, and one more thing, I just wanted to remind people that you said you were going to send an email out to everyone probably next week, right? With the follow-up details or?
Yes, I do believe that when people registered for this, that they submitted their email address.
Yep.
So we will use that list to distribute on the information that we have for follow-up. I do believe that a lot of people that joined us tonight already have the link to access the documents that are made available to the public for this file in MyWaters. But you now again can get into MyWaters and submit any additional comments between now and November 1st.
All right. Well, Joe, do you have any closing remarks you wanted to make or?
Just thanks to everybody for taking time to comment. Obviously, it's an issue that is important to a lot of people. We appreciate your input and your well thought out comments help us do the job right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight and taking time out of your busy days and your evening to spend with us to submit your comments. We appreciate them and hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you.